What's up, YouTubers? Red Crimson 102 here. Today, I'm going to show you some of the best JoyCons and controllers that are available for the Nintendo Switch. And let's start with, of course, the Pro Controller. The original Nintendo OEM controller, no doubt, is a very good controller, one of the best controller, which makes sense because it's made by Nintendo officially. I've had no issues with this controller. This is actually my launch day controller back in 2017. Now that's crazy, guys. The only issue I've had with the controller as of recently is the battery. The battery on a full charge, if I lay it down for a month or so, it'll die on me and I have to constantly recharge it. And it makes sense because I've had this controller since 2017, so the battery is pretty much bad on there now. I may have to replace the battery real soon. I do have a backup, a brand new Nintendo Switch Pro controller that is in the box. I haven't even opened yet. The analog sticks are great on there. Never had an issue with the analog sticks. The D-pad, while not bad, is definitely not the best. As you can see, when you press the D-pad, the whole D-pad moves. But I do like how it has a loose feel to it. But because the whole D-pad moves when you press either direction, left or right, up or down, what I hate about playing fighting games, if I'm pressing forward, it'll normally jump. It'll jump forward instead of walking forward. So forward, it'll jump. If I press back to back up, as you can see, the whole D-pad moves, so it'll instead of jumping back, walking back, it'll jump backwards. That's what I don't like. If they can find a way to like make it more stationary, where if you press left, it goes left, and right, it goes right, without jumping on forward or jumping backwards. If you press back, that'll be cool. But other than that, I have no issues with the controller. The buttons, it's actually it's one of the best controllers you can buy for the Switch. You cannot go wrong buying this controller for the Nintendo Switch. I just wish the D-pad was a little bit more sturdier, where when you press it back, it doesn't jump backwards, forward, it doesn't jump forward. It doesn't happen all the time, but happens often enough to really throw you off your game. But other than that, the buttons are cool. I kind of felt like the buttons was a little bit too big. Sometimes I get like button fatigue pressing the face buttons, but it's not bad. Overall, this controller still gets a 9 out of 10. You really cannot go wrong with this controller. And of course, it has NFC for your amiibos, HD rumble. You can wake up your Switch and all that. So this controller, you know, should be your number one choice if you're looking for a full-fledged controller other than the Joy-Con is your Nintendo Switch. Now, let's see. Actually, I'll go ahead and put these as number 2, these Joy-Cons. And these are from, who makes these controllers again? Hori. These Joy-Cons are from Hori. This is called a Split Pad Pro. These Joy-Cons, excuse me guys, are perfect. Some of the best. I will put these Joy-Cons as the number 1 best Joy-Cons for the Nintendo Switch. Yes, they're big. It makes your Switch look like a batarang. Makes your Switch look real big and long. But guys, I can assure you, the Split Pad Pro is very much comfortable. The analogs are perfect. The D-pad is perfect. The D-pad on the Split Pad Pro by Hori is 10 times better than the D-pad that's on the Nintendo Switch OEM controller. Yes, I said it, the D-pad is a lot better than the original Switch Pro controller. So anybody that's into 2D games and 2D fighting games, which we all know you definitely need the perfect D-pad to play those style games, this is the controller you want to get. You want to get this Hori Split Pad Pro. Everything about this These Joy-Cons are flawless, perfect. Shoulder buttons perfect, analog perfect, D-pad perfect. Trust me, guys, these are the second best Joy-Cons for controller overall for the Nintendo Switch. It's not really a controller. You can turn it into a controller. It comes with a middle piece. Actually, it doesn't come with a middle piece, but there's a secondary version they re-released where it comes with a middle piece where you can attach both Joy-Cons, and it has a wire connecting to the dock. You can turn it into a full-fledged wired controller. I think personally they came out with that too late, but it is what it is. These are just standalone Joy-Cons that are used to attach your Nintendo Switch, and this is the Ex Machina version that they released several years ago. I was quick enough to pre-order one. I was finally happy when I got it. That's why it has a special Ex Machina symbol right here. Now, these Joy-Cons are available everywhere. You can walk into Walmart, Target, and you will see these in a smaller box. But it won't be the Ex... excuse me, guys. It won't be the Ex Machina version that I'm holding right here. And I've had these Joy-Cons for several years, and they still work perfectly. No drift. I would say these are the best Joy-Cons. Number one Joy-Cons for the Nintendo Switch. Alright, and moving along. As far as controllers go, I did say that the official Nintendo Pro Controller is number one. I will put this at number two. Funny thing is, guys, this controller is actually a lot better than the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. And it's made by PXN, the PXN brand. And you can find this controller on Amazon. I purchased it on Amazon and they're pretty cheap. I believe I paid $35 to $40 for this controller. And yes, the price may seem very, very cheap. And the control may even have a cheap feel. But don't let the looks fool you, guys. This controller is awesome. The analog is perfect. The D-pad is perfect, and also the D-pad is a lot better than the Switch Pro Controller D-pad. This controller is way better, hands down, than the official Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. Believe me when I tell you that, guys. It sure is. Now, you do have rumble on here. You don't, I think, don't get me wrong, because you know I have different controllers for different uses in different games. I don't remember if this controller has NFC, but it does has rumble and it does has gyro, so which makes it a perfect controller. It may look and feel cheap, but this controller is actually better than the Switch Pro Controller. The build quality might not be as good, but the controller holds up well. I have no issues. It does not drift. It's a perfect controller in every sense of the word. So this is the controller I recommend everybody get. If you're looking for a third party controller, I recommend everybody get the PXN controller, hands down. Red Crimson official, go get it. Trust me, guys, it's cheap, the price at least, but the buttons, analog, and the D-pad is perfect. Chef kiss. I recommend this controller as number one. Actually, this is actually my favorite controller for the Nintendo Switch, really, over the Switch Pro Controller. So remember, guys, PXN. This controller is good. And they also have a new version that I've seen on Amazon that has NFC. You can wake up your Switch and all that good stuff. Gyro and everything. I will be getting that version. And here's hoping it's as good as this one, because the D-pad looks a little bit kind of funny on the newer model, but only time will tell once I'm using it. But this is one of the best controllers over the Switch Pro. I'll put this over the Switch Pro controller. Also, third, this is the SN Plus 30 controller by 8-Bit Do. Now, we all know 8-Bit Do makes great controllers for the Nintendo Switch, hands down. I've never had any issues with 8-bit dual controllers. They are very awesome, man. They might as well have you working for Nintendo. Their D-pad, they always make the best D-pad for controllers. Their D-pads never let me down, and hence the name 8-bit Nintendo. So, you know, the D-pad was the main factor on the Nintendo, so Nintendo had to make a very, very good D-pad. And this D-pad is awesome, guys. Trust me. I have no issues with the analogs, no drift. The analogs feel tight and flawless. The buttons are raised so you can press them easily. Select start, whatever. Guys, hands down, the 8-bit dual SN30 Pro Plus, great controller. I believe they have gyro and rumble, but no NFC. And also, this controller it uses a lithium battery. I believe you can also, the cool thing about this controller, I believe also you can replace it with AA batteries. So not only does it come with a lithium rechargeable battery, you can also use AA batteries on this just in case you lose your lithium battery. That's cool. It also has the macro buttons on the back. You can use it for Android, iOS, PC, and Nintendo Switch. It's mainly a Nintendo Switch controller, but you can use it for all platforms. You cannot go wrong with any 8-bit dual controllers. They are flawless controllers. They are perfect controllers. They will not let you down. These are some of the best. And also, I guess it just depends on how you feel. I mean, I would say it's better than the Pro controller. And when I think about it, there's a lot of controllers that's better than the Pro controller. But 8-bit dual, if you're looking for a secondary controller, I would definitely get the SN30 Pro Plus. Any 8-bit dual controller is good. It doesn't even have to be an SN30 Plus controller. If it has 8-bit dual on there, it's a great controller. And speaking of 8-bit dual, this is the other version. This is the SN30 Pro Plus 2, I believe. So the first controller I showed you, the SN30 Plus, this is the secondary version to it. This is the SN30. The names are so funny, guys. SN30 Pro Plus 2, the SN30 Pro 2 controller. Feels a lot better, smoother. The D-pad is great. I mean, like I said, guys, you cannot go wrong. The second controller is also better, way better than the first controller to me, the SN30 Pro Plus, which I found unbelievable. I mean, how much improvement can you make on a controller? But they found a way to make this controller feel even better. I do think this one is better, however, because I love the smooth feel. It just fits you. It's a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, so it fits your hand a lot better. I have really big hands, so this is actually perfect. We can compare right now, as you can see. This one is a little bit bigger and longer. It fits your hands better. And they improved on everything. The D-pad is better. The analogs are better. The D-pad is better. Everything. It is an overall better feel controller. You can never go wrong with SN30 Pro controllers. Now, what else do we have here? Oh, this is a JoyCon from Hori. The Zelda theme D-pad Joy-Con from Hori. This came out several years ago. I've had this for several years. Now this Joy-Con, left Joy-Con from Hori is a big deal because when the Switch first launched, everybody was complaining about, you know, there is no D-pad on the Joy-Con. So this was the first official D-pad, excuse me guys, this is the first official Joy-Con that actually shipped with a D-pad. So Hori actually beat Nintendo to the market with a Joy-Con that has a D-pad on it, and that was crazy to me. But as soon as I seen this when they had it, and I'm a huge Zelda fan, and I saw a Joy-Con with a D-pad, I immediately went out and got it. And I believe this Joy-Con was, how much was it? It was actually pretty cheap, $20 or $30, $20, $25. It was really cheap. It blew my mind. And this Joy-Con is actually better than the original Joy-Con that comes with the Nintendo Switch. It's better than all Joy-Cons Nintendo makes. It's a lot more sturdier. These are better built. They do not have drift. I've had this for several years already, like I said before, and I have not gotten drift with these. They are still perfect when I go into the Switch calibration mode. And the D-pad has a soft feel to it. I think they could. It has a somewhat soft, cheap feel to it, but the D-pad does its job, and they're perfectly calibrated. So if I'm playing a fighting game and I press the back button, your character will move back instead of jumping backwards. If I press forward, your character will walk forward instead of jumping forward, unlike the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. So the D-pads are very, very accurate on here. I recommend these. I believe they're $20 if my memory serves me correct. It could have been $35, either $20 or $35 Don't get me to lie, I can't remember, guys. It's been so long, but you can find these in Walmart, Target, Amazon, anywhere. I may even buy me a secondary one and put it down just to have, because you never know, it might become hard in the future. And this is a better built Joy-Con than the standard Joy-Con Nintendo Switch, and it will not slide off your rails. It's better built. You know, the original Joy-Con, I can just pull them right off, but this is a better build. It's not going to go anywhere. It's sturdy. I definitely recommend these. I love them. The only cons, guys, this isn't wireless. It only works when it's attached to the Nintendo Switch, so it's powered by the Nintendo Switch, which kind of sucks. It would have been cool if they came out with a secondary version where it has, you know, it doesn't have rumble. It doesn't have rumble. It doesn't have NFC. It doesn't have gyro. It is a standard controller that connects to your Nintendo Switch, and you can play. And I guess that's why it was $20, $35. But it'll be dope if Huawei came out with a secondary version that add the NFC, gyro, rumble, and all. That would have been dope. And it's only the left Joy-Con. There is no right Joy-Con. Moving along. The second best, guys, I will not stress. In a way, I would say these Joy-Cons from Kinvoca are the best Joy-Cons for the Nintendo Switch. And I know I said the Hori Split Pad Pro is the best Joy-Con, hands down, for the Nintendo Switch. I would put these over it, but the reason why I don't is because of the D-pad. Like, this might as well had not had a D-pad. It might as well had the cross keys the standard Joy-Con has. The D-pad on this is terrible. You cannot play a fighting game with this. You might be able to play a 2D game with a 2D platform. I never had an issue. As long as there's no half circle movements involved, then the D-pad is fine. But if you're looking for like an accurate D-pad where you want to use it to play fighting games and half circle motions are needed, this D-pad Joy-Con will let you down. Other than that, these Joy-Cons are some of the best. I'll probably put it as number 2. If it wasn't for the D-pad, the bad D-pad, I would have given it the number 1 spot. But I'll put these as a number 2 best Joy-Cons you can pick up for the Nintendo Switch. These are very, very comfortable. They are more comfortable than the Split Pad Pro. As you can see, just holding it in my hands, it has a big bump in the back where you can rest your palm, so your hands won't get fatigued holding them. These are the most comfortable Joy-Cons. I have literally played my Nintendo Switch for hours straight without getting hand cramps or hand fatigue over the Split Pad Pro. And even with the Split Pad Pro, my hand does get fatigued. Not as bad, but it gets fatigued. But with these, These are the perfect Joy-Cons for the Nintendo Switch. And I wish Nintendo had made their Joy-Cons like this. If Nintendo made their Joy-Cons like this, it'll be perfect. You wouldn't even need any third-party Joy-Con controls unless you just wanted an extra pair of Joy-Cons. Now, moving along. Oh, by the way, these Joy-Cons are called Kinvoca, Kinvoca. You can get these off of Amazon, and they're similar Joy-Cons to these. I've seen the same Joy-Cons on Amazon under different names, so I don't know who the main manufacturer is, but whoever the main manufacturer is, you know, they license out the patent to other third-party developers, because I've seen the same Joy-Con under different names, but the one I have is by Kinvoca. So remember that name, guys, Kinvoca. If you're looking for a great Joy-Con, this also has, it doesn't have NFC, but it has gyro and it has rumble, and I believe you can wake up your Switch, and it comes with a middle piece where you can attach it just like a standard Joy-Con, so you can use it wirelessly. So this has Bluetooth and gyro and rumble. Awesome. The buttons are perfect. The shoulder buttons are perfect. The D-pad are tight and perfect. I had no issues with these analog sticks. The analog sticks on here are perfect. You can play fighting games. And how I judge great controllers and great Joy-Cons, I use them on fighting games. And I have no issues with any of the face buttons, nothing. The analogs are perfect on here. You want to get these Joy-Cons, guys, if you want a good pair of Joy-Cons that's better and cheaper than the standard OEM Nintendo Joy-Cons. And these were also decent price. I believe they were like $50, I think. But it's worth it. Trust me on that. If they can come out with another version with a better D-pad, I will put these as #1. So I'll go ahead and put these at wow, guys, it's tough. A close two. I put these pair of Joy-Cons at #2. What else do I got back here? Okay, I'm pretty sure you guys heard of these. I'm pretty sure you guys seen these. These are the split pad 2s, I call them. The split pad Comfort. So these are basically the second version, the part 2 to the original Split Pad Pro. This is the original Split Pad Pro. This is the Split Pad Pro Comfort. Split Pad Comfort. All the positive feedback the original Split Pad Pro has gotten, Hori has decided to revamp the Split Pad Pro and make them a little bit smaller and tighter. And you would think that's a good idea, and you would think they may be even better than the Split Pad Pro, but they're not. I've seen a lot of reviews. I myself has done a review on this Split Pad Compact on my channel, which you can check out, by the way. These to me were a step back, and they're made for smaller hands, and I don't like how there's not much grip in the back. It feels like there's no grip at all. If they had made it a little bit more bulky in the back, it would have probably been perfect, but these are meant for small to medium hands. And if you look on how I'm holding it, it doesn't really fit my hands well. It just feels so weird. It just feels weird to me. And they found a way to mess the D-pad. The analogs are still cool. The analogs are still good. The analogs are still great. But I still think even the analog, well, that may be debatable, but for sure, the D-pad is definitely a big step back from the D-pad on the original Split Pad Pros. And as you can see, you see how easily I'm pressing the D-pad. Here it just has a more, it has a harder feel. It's a weird feel. It just feels harder. It doesn't feel like it would be accurate. And out of the box, they look pretty decent. But playing it is a different thing. These are, I'll be the first to say, guys, the split pad comfort is a step back from the original split pad Pro. I don't know how they managed to mess that up. And the split pad comfort still doesn't have NFC. It doesn't have Bluetooth. It doesn't have gyro. It doesn't have rumble. It only works when attached to the Nintendo Switch. The D-pad is a huge step back. I just think overall it's a huge step back, and it's made for small hands to medium hands. If you have huge hands like me, these JoyCons aren't going to do you any good. Can you still use them efficiently? Sure you can, but don't play any fighting games with it. It's not terrible, but it's just a step back. That's all I can say. I've seen some people on YouTube, they say they like it. They say they claim it's better than the Split Pad Pro. That's just opinions. Me as a hardcore gamer, these are a step back from the split pad. But you know, if you have small to medium hands and you want to get them, go for it. I don't think it's a bad purchase at all. But you know, you'll be using, if you're gonna get these, you'll be using it for certain games. You won't be using it for every single game. And that's what controllers are all about. You don't have that one controller that's great for every games, unless you know it's the standard, you know, controller. Like for example, the Switch Pro controller, that you can play that with any single game. But not all controllers and Joy-Cons are meant for every single game. But these are a step back, a huge step back from the split pad. But it's still a good pair of Joy-Cons, and they come in different colors as well. Actually, these are the original ones I picked up from Walmart, and when I got it, I was like, I didn't like the color. The color is so weird, and red is my favorite color, so I ended up ordering the red split pad comfort from Amazon. And when I finally got it, I didn't even really like how the red color looked, because if you can tell, it's not a deep red color, it's more of a apricot color, and that's the color of it, is apricot red. But I grew to like the ones I just showed you, the white and yellow ones. And we're getting down to the wire now. This is the recently bought Ghillie Kit controller. We all know the King Kong Pro 2, but the main selling factor for the Ghillie Kit controllers is their notorious no drift analog sticks, the magnetic Hall sticks. Now, personally, I think Ghillie Kit controllers are excuse me, guys. I personally think that Ghillie Kit controller are very, very overrated. I've seen people on YouTube, especially in the comment section, praising the King Kong Pro 2 controller, and it's no drift magnetic Hall sticks. Nonsense. They're overrated. Out of the box, this controller had drift. It had bad analog calibration. It had lag and latency out of the box. When I was playing Street Fighter, it had so much lag, I was getting pummeled by my opponent because the button presses was just registering late. Now you can actually update the controller, which is a good thing, on the GhillieKit.com. They have a firmware, updated the controller, it fixed the lag and latency issues, as well as the analog calibration issue, but not by much. Well, actually by a good deal, but it still was not perfect. You know, it still wasn't perfect. So, and the Dreamcast back in the days used the analog, the no drift analog Hall magnetic sticks, and after that, that was it. And I see why manufacturers dropped it. I still think the traditional non-magnetic Hall sticks are better, regardless if it will develop drift over the years. And you're only going to develop drift, guys, if you don't take care of your controller. If you're blowing smoke on it, you let your dog play your controller, you're dropping your controller, and dust is getting to it out in the open. Of course, I mean, with continuous use, especially if that's your primary controller, you're going to experience breakdown with the controller. It's going to deteriorate. That's just life. That's just logic. Things break down, especially with continuous use if that's your main controller. But yeah, this is a Zen Pro. It's basically the retail version for the King Kong Pro 2 controller by Ghillie Kit. It's all the same, and you can pick this up at Target for $60, which is $10 cheaper than Amazon. Amazon has it for $70. The controller feels really good. I'm not gonna lie. It's reminiscent of a Xbox controller. So that's a good thing. Depending on how you look at it, it's a good thing to me because the Xbox does make the best controller. The shoulder buttons are reminiscent of the Xbox controller. Shoulder buttons are okay. It's cool. It's a decent controller, but it has gyro. It wakes up your Switch. It has NFC. That's what it says at least, which is dope. So basically, this is well, how can I say it? It's just like the Pro controller. It has all the bells and whistles of the Pro controller: NFC, rumble, gyro, Bluetooth. That's awesome. And as macro, you can map the buttons, the face buttons at least. I believe the shoulder buttons. You can set the sensitivity of the presses on the shoulder buttons and also the sensitive pressure on the analog sticks. And this can be done all from the controller by holding the settings button and pressing another button or whatever. But you have to read the instructions, which will tell you that. That's dope. How you don't need a software to really make adjustments to the controller. I love how it feels. I love the grippy feel on here, the grippy texture. Decent controller, man, but definitely not the best. Ghillie Kit is overrated. I do not put, and I wouldn't put any stock into the magnetic Hall sticks. They're very overrated. The calibration on them are very bad. And okay, last and least, I guess, Fusion Pro. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard about this controller. It came out several years ago, I believe in 2021. This is my second time buying this controller. This controller is actually $100. It's very expensive. And because it came out in 2021, this is a year where Nintendo held on to their features like, gyro and NFC rumble, the HD rumble close to their chest, and it wasn't really releasing that patent out to third-party developers. So with that being said, the Power 8 Fusion controller, it doesn't have NFC and it doesn't have rumble. I believe it does have gyro, and that's about it. You can swap out the analog sticks. This is basically, if you guys are familiar with the Xbox Elite controller, this is basically the Xbox Elite controller, but for the Nintendo Switch. It has a back paddles, as you can see right here, where you can map your buttons. I believe you can do everything from the controller as well. I never really tried to mess around with it, but I believe that you can. I really can't say too much about this controller because I returned it when I bought it several years ago, and here I am with it again. I don't even know why I bought it again, but I watched several reviews, and now I'm just now being reminded that it doesn't have NFC and rumble. And NFC and rumble are important to me. You understand what I'm saying? If it is important, it's not important. But it goes back to what's important to you and what game you're using with the controller. That's what it all depends. And I also believe when it comes to like controllers, I just realized that, honestly, man, I like to collect controllers. I like to have different controllers. And I think all gamers should have more than one controller because you don't want to wear out your main controller. So it's always good to have several controllers where you can swap out controllers, give your main controller a break, give your favorite controller a break. That's what I do. I have several controllers, as you can already see. So I guess I can let it slide. It doesn't have NFC. Because basically, if I'm playing a certain game and I'm using this controller, of course, I'm not worried about that it doesn't have NFC and rumble. Because certain games, I don't care if it doesn't have rumble or NFC. You're using this controller for a certain thing. But the thing that irks me is this controller is $100. So you may want to take that into consideration. I can't remember. I think I do have a review up on my channel for this, which you guys can check out and make your own judgment from there. And I've watched that video actually today, and from my last video I said this controller was comfortable. It felt better than the Pro controller. The D-pad felt better. The analogs felt better. It was an overall better controller. Not feature-wise, but, like, as far as, like, accuracy, like, the D-pad is better and the analogs are better. The buttons feel better, the shoulder, whatever. That's about it. It feels better than the Switch. I mean, the controller felt like love the last time I had it. But I'm back here with this controller, and I don't know why. So it's an expensive controller for less features. I mean, if you're not gonna have NFC and rumble, they should have at least drop the price down by $20, $30, because it doesn't have NFC and rumble and all that stuff. This should have easily been like a $7 controller or even a $50 controller. But it'll be dope if they make a part 2 to this controller, and it has all the bells and whistles, because I guess Nintendo tightened up on the features on the exclusive features on their controller, because I have several controllers, third-party controllers, that has NFC, rumble, gyro, all the bells and whistles as a pro controller. So now's the best time for Power 8 to come out with a part 2 to this controller. But I was never a big fan of Power 8 controllers. The D-pad always sucks. The D-pad never does it for me, and the controller always had like a weird to cool design, but the D-pads were never good. I think this is one of the first controllers where the D-pad was actually decent, but I'll test it out again later and do a secondary review on here, and put it up that you guys see it later. But I've seen somebody say this was like one of the best controllers as well, for the Nintendo Switch. But that's about it, guys. I just wanted to show you my personal collection of controllers and what's the best controllers for the Nintendo Switch. And like I said, we're gonna run it back real fast. My favorite controller for the Nintendo Switch actually is this. I'll put this as my favorite controller for the Nintendo Switch, my all-around controller. I can play with fighting games, whatever. It's my favorite controller, as well as the actual Pro controller. But I haven't used it in a while since the battery is kind of acting iffy. But the PXN is my favorite. Number 2. Number 3, I love these because they're perfect and they're small. You can just put them in your backpack with no problem. And of course, that's about it. I'll say those are my favorites. And of course, the honorably mentioned 8-bit dual controllers. These controllers are great. Having the questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I'll answer all your questions the best that I can. Sorry if it seemed like I was stuttering or making mistakes, or it looked like I was thinking about what to say. That's just how it is sometimes. It's not scripted. Also leave in the comment section what are your favorite controller and JoyCons. And if you're new to my channel, make sure you like and subscribe. Red Crimson 102 out.